Okay, Merrick, it's your live.
Okay, thank you. Here we go. Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you to Perth East Council this first day of February. I'd like to call our meeting to order, and if everyone could please bow their head for a moment of reflection. Thank you. We need a motion to confirm the agenda. Moved by Jeremy. Second by Amanda. So the motion is that the agenda is prepared for February 1, 2022, meeting of Council of the Township of Perth East be approved as received. All in favor? Carried. Okay, if you have pecuniary interest, you can disclose that now or as the meeting goes along. We have 26 items under our consent agenda. Is there any item anyone would like to have pulled? Jerry?
5.1.11, please.
Okay. Anyone else? I'd like 5.1.21 pulled as well. Okay, Jerry, do you want to ask questions or you want it separate?
Oh, well, we'll see what my questions, if they get answered. So is this the first we've seen this? It's the request for the Woolcrest redevelopment project. I'm assuming that we could refer this to the budget. Maybe staff could help me here. Again, I can't recall if I don't think they did a presentation to us, but if any input from staff would be great. If not, I'd like to refer this to budget for see if we could support it in some way.
Well, I think I can answer that. They have presented it before. We saw it last year at the budget. It came to budget and it was part of the requests. And at the budget, we received it for information. I don't know if you recall that. Does anyone else recall that? Or maybe staff can help me out as well. Well, I can see some heads nodding. Rhonda Fisher, you want to add some?
I was just going to mention it. Maybe 2 years ago, Mary Agates, that was on the agenda. And it was under our donation policy request from community groups. But I could be wrong as well, but I believe it was 2 years ago.
Okay, time flies when we're having fun. It was last year. Anyway, we have seen it in the past. So whatever you want to do, Jerry.
Well, I certainly hope we could have another kick at it to see if we can support it in any way. So if we could get it referred to budget, that would be my request.
Okay. So moved by Jerry. We have a seconder, Jeremy. So refer 1.11 to budget. Okay. Any more questions? All in favor? Okay. I guess I changed it up a little bit. I'll go to the one that I want pulled then. I'd like to see 5.21 pulled. It's from AMO and it talks about, there's a couple of things on here that I think are important that we support and get staff to look into. And then the first one is the joint and several liability. The government promised when they got put in power that they would look at this for us. And some of the municipalities now, I think the Attorney General is starting to look into this and they would like support from the municipalities that the municipality should be looking into this. So I do have a motion. It's fairly lengthy here. I'm just wondering before I read it, is there support that we have the government look into this? This is where our costs of our insurance. Our insurance is going up all the time. So the motion I have is that we receive 5.121 21 is set out in the consent agenda for February 1, 2022, regular meeting of council be received for information. That council, the Township of Perth East hereby call on the Attorney General of Ontario to work with municipal governments to put forward a plan of action to address joint and several liability before the end of the government's current term so that municipalities can continue to offer high quality services to their communities. And at council support, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, recommendation that reads, whereas municipal governments provide essential services to the residents and businesses in their communities, whereas the ability to provide those services is negatively impacted by exponentially rising insurance costs, and whereas one driver of rising insurance costs is a legal principle of joint and several liability, which assigns disproportionate liability to municipalities for an incident relative to their responsibility for it. And whereas the government of Ontario has the authority and responsibility for the legal framework of joint and several liability, and whereas the Premier of Ontario committed to review the issue in 2018 with a view to helping municipal governments manage their risks and costs, and whereas the Association of Municipalities of Ontario on behalf of the municipal governments has provided recommendations to align municipal liability with a proponental responsibility for incidents and capping awards, and that correspondence regarding support of AMO's recommendation go to the Attorney General, the Honorable Doug Downey, Municipal Fair and Housing, the Honorable Steve Clark, AMO President Jamie McGarvey, and Perth Wellington MPP Randy Pappies. Does anyone want to move? I'm sorry for the length of it. Teresa and I have had a couple discussions on this, and I know at the county we supported that we have this looked in as well. Anyone willing to move that? Jerry?
Yeah, I'd be willing to move. Thanks for bringing that to our attention, Mayor Agates.
Do we have a seconder?
If I may comment.
No, I need a seconder.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Jeremy? Okay, Daryl, you can comment now.
Yeah, no, it sounds really good there, Madam Mayor. A little review or oversight. Was there any kind of, legal involved or expertise behind? There's some key wording there. I believe you're hitting everything right. It's just I'm not well-rounded in this. I don't know if anybody else has anything to say. It was a lot to digest rather quick.
I believe, if I'm correct, Eric, there were links that people could click on in the agenda. Is that correct? And it explained it all in there.
Yeah, yes, there were links in the agenda, and that in 5.1.21 from the AMO's correspondence. And all those that Mayor Agates had read off were directly from AMO's recommendations. So they would have done their own review with that. And that's the call to action that they've been bringing forward to municipalities.
I thought it was much similar. I just wanted to make sure it didn't have a hard copy. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else with questions? Amanda?
No questions, just a comment. So pre-budget consultations are happening right now. And I know one today, this very topic was brought up in discussion. So it's probably good to have it put forward. So I'll be supporting this.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with questions? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, and the second item in that correspondence from AMO is about the CN rail and drainage. And some of the municipalities are experiencing some problems that the CN rail is not paying their fair portion of the assessments for drainage, and they're having trouble getting their money. And I know this was addressed also at AMO, or at Roma, excuse me, on last week. That was one of the questions that was brought forward, and there actually was a delegation on this as well. And I don't think we're experiencing a lot of trouble here in Perth East, but we still need to support that that we don't run into trouble in the future. So we do have a motion that would read: the Council of the Township of Perth East support the Association of Municipalities of Ontario AMO call to action regarding CN rail drainage, and that the clerk be directed to send correspondence to CN rail following the AMO letter template. Andrew, are you willing to move that? Moved by Andrew. Second by Hugh. Is there any questions on any of that? Hugh?
Not a question, but we already have problems in Southeast Oak with CN and farmers with their drainage. So it actually is closer to home than we think. So I'll be supporting this.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Okay, so now going back to everything, we took out 5.11 and we took out 5.21. So we need a motion to adopt all the items except for those two, 5.11 and 5.21. Moved by Amanda, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Okay, now I've lost my agenda. Here we go. So the next item on our agenda is delegations, and tonight we're going to welcome an acting inspector, Wendy Burrow. She's going to give us a progress report, and Teresa and I had the opportunity to meet Wendy one day, so it's great to see you, Wendy, again, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mayor, and thank you, Council, for giving us the opportunity to speak today. I'm going to try to share my screen with you, so hopefully this goes okay. All right. So you should be able to see something that says Perth East Progress Report Update.
Yes,
Just
you
to make
can.
sure. Perfect. So I just want to go through, I know it's part of the council package that Eric put together for us, but we have our 2020 progress report that's been completed for Perth County. So just wanted to highlight a few of the things from the progress report for you. And we'll move to the next slide. So there's three key areas that we talk to in our progress report. One of them is looking at crime, which includes both violent crime and property crime. The next area is our roadways, waterways, and trails. And then the last one are other factors that we're looking at to work on. So the crime progress results, what we were looking at is to address and prevent our crime in our communities. Some of the things that we've been doing, you'll see in our achievements. So we've been working hard with our Lock It and Lose It campaigns. Our auxiliary unit, who is back in action again. So during COVID, we put them on standby in case we needed to deploy them. But they're out doing crime prevention through environmental design reviews on places where we've had break and enters. And we've been working at school presentations, especially talking about the rise in sexual assaults and human trafficking related issues and the sharing of intimate images. So our school resource officer's been working on that. And our community street crime unit continues to target areas known for illicit drugs as well as property crime. And we've been working on putting focus patrols in place as well to address issues of crime within our communities. One of the other areas is reducing recidivism by known offenders. So we're doing this through what we call our crime abatement strategy. And what we're looking at is people who've been released back into the community. We go to their houses and make sure that they're complying by the conditions that they've been released into the community on. This is one of the areas where we have to work closely with our other justice partners and community partners as well to make sure that people are held accountable for the crimes that they commit as well. It's always hard when it takes longer to do the paperwork than it does when the person's in custody. So it's always a challenge for us as well. And the last part is that we're really working towards, and we've seen this through their community safety and well-being plan, is collaborating with our community partners to ensure the safety of our most vulnerable community members. And some of the things that we've got that we're involved in now, we have Project Lifesaver, which is looking at supporting those that have dementia or Alzheimer's if they wander from home. We have a wandering person registry as well that we're using. And probably one of the biggest things that's really helped us in the last couple of years is our mobile crisis rapid response team, and that deals mainly with mental health. And we have 4 workers that we share between Huron and Perth counties, where we utilize them to address issues where we have prolific offenders and people that are using multiple police resources and providing them the community supports that they need as well. And then just looking at some of our statistics, this is a 5-year average that we're seeing. So you'll notice that violent crime between 2017 and 2021 has increased. And what we really found was during times of COVID, especially during lockdown, that was when we saw our violent crime rates increase. And a lot of it was uttering threats. A lot of it were assaults, especially family-oriented or neighbor disputes. And we've seen this across the region, and much of it is we're attributing it to people being locked up together for a long period of time, additional pressures with finances, with kids being home from school, and that creates tension. So that is where we've seen the bulk of our increase. On the other hand, you'll notice that there's been a decrease in the amount of property crime from 2017 to our current level of 175 from 2021. With more people being at home, we noticed that our break and enters greatly reduced, but where we did see an increase was more towards the mischief side of things. In terms of our traffic, we always focus on the big 4, we call it. So that's impaired, distracted, and speeding, and seatbelt use. So those are the areas that we focus on in terms of our education and enforcement. And what we try to do is monitor the trends, especially in terms of where our collisions are occurring, where we're finding our impaireds, and we work with our analysts to be able to provide us with information on that. And again, animal-related collisions in Perth County, our animal-related collisions account for about 23% of our overall collisions. Most of them are wild animals, deer for the most part. And so we work to continue to educate people that about watching the ditches and making sure that they're aware of their surroundings, especially when driving during dusk and dawn, when we find most of our car deer collisions occur. And then the other part that we're really concentrating on is developing the skill set of our officers involved. So we've got additional officers who have been trained as drug recognition experts. We're finding more people that are impaired by drugs as opposed to alcohol on our roadways. And all our officers are now trained in what we call standard field sobriety training. So that's the ability to detect impairment, whether it's by drug or alcohol, through a variety of questions and physical signs that people are having. And we're working in conjunction with the Crown's Office to ensure that the cases that we're bringing forward for our collision-related investigations, as well as our impaired investigations, have the support of the Crown, as well as that we're providing them with the information that they need. And just working into our traffic statistics, the first 2 are for Perth East specifically. The last 2 are overall for Perth County. You'll notice that our impaired operation charges sort of hit a peak in 2019, and then they've reduced again to 2021, going from 20 back in 2019 down to 14 in 2021. Collisions, again, 2020 is a bit of an anomaly. People weren't traveling, they weren't going to work, they were locked down, so we had less collisions, less traffic stops, and less charges, all from 2020 because of that. And we saw that carry through into 2021 with the number of charges there as well. And then some of the other items that we've been looking at for our progress is reducing the number of 911 calls and 911 hang-up calls. So this was a huge issue in our communities, and with the number of incidents that we were responding to in relation to this. So we really worked on education, but now we've also done a change of policy. It used to be a 2-officer response for any 911 drop call. Now, if we're able to confirm that it's a pocket dial and there's voice contact, or we can understand what's going on in the background, it's no longer considered a call for service. So that doesn't come back to your community as part of the billing model. And we've really been looking at co-response solutions and working with our community partners, and especially in this case is dealing with our mental health patients. So part of this is the community safety and well-being plan and the efforts that we're making to be part of that committee and to work with all of our community partners, whether it's through our situation tables, whether it's with our hospitals and the MCERT program, that's our Mobile Crisis Rapid Response Team. And then one of the key factors that we've also put in as part of the OPP is a call diversion for mental health. And that is part of our communication center. So when people call into our communication center and are in a mental health crisis, they're automatically put in to speak with a mental health crisis worker at that time, rather than having an officer dispatch that call. So that's also helped us to reduce the number of calls for service that were dispatched to police when it was really a mental health call that should have been going. And one of the last things that we're working on is our transfer of care protocol. So I'm sure you've heard about the EMS waiting in the hospital waiting rooms. We also have that when we have mental health patients, where we have to wait until they can be seen by a mental health professional, and whether they're admitted into the hospital for support or not. So we've now have a committee where we have representation from all our partner hospitals in both Huron and Perth. Police, including Stratford Police, and EMS is on that committee as well. So what that committee is establishing benchmarks to allow us to transfer the care of what is essentially a medical call back to the medical professionals, and to reduce the stigmatization that happens when police bring people into the hospital as well. And then just looking at some of the changes for the stats for what I've been talking about. Our 911 calls and hang-up calls were at a high in 2019 with 222. Based on the new changes to policy, they've dropped down to 43. So that's a significant time savings for us, as well as a cost savings for the communities as well. We are seeing an increase in mental health calls, and you have between 36 and 40 going from 2017 to 2020. And then in 2021, we saw that increase up to 61. Part of this is more attention for mental health. And part of this is also going back and attributing some of it to COVID and the increase that we're seeing in stressors within our community as well. And one of the other key things that we were looking at is how we were able to reduce the number of alarm calls. So we went from a high of 135 back in 2017. And through looking at education and providing people with the information on how they needed to, secure their house and make sure that they had such things as key holders that they're able to go through on their alarm system and update it. We're now down to 58 calls for alarms, and that's both residential and business alarms. And just some of the updates I wanted to bring to your attention. So Inspector Rob Scott, who is, this is his home position as we call it. He's going to be retiring later this month. The 14th of February is his last day. So I'm sitting in his seat until such a time when a competition can take place. Staff Sergeant Dave Cinco is now the operations manager here. So he'll be staying on in Perth County as our staff sergeant operations manager. And then in 2021, we were fortunate enough to have 2 new experienced officers join the OPP. So they're officers from other police services that have moved over to our service now, as well as 9 new recruits that joined into Perth County. Next week, so actually on Monday, we're going to be welcoming 3 new recruits as well. So that's going to help us with being more proactive in our communities with the additional staffing that we have. And we're going to be getting 2 more recruits starting in Perth County later this year. Due to some restrictions at our Ontario Police College, we're not exactly sure if we're going to get them in July or August because their start date at OPC got delayed. And 2 of the other things that we started doing as of January 2022 is we've established a shift overlap. So our shifts run from 6 in the morning to 6 at night, 6 at night until 6 in the morning, 12-hour shifts. So now we've got a shift overlap that we're doing to address our key times for calls for service. So this brings additional officers in between 4 o'clock in the afternoon till 4 o'clock in the morning, which is when we find that those are our key times when we get increased calls for service. And the other thing that we've done is established an all zones car to assist with our community related initiatives. So that includes our focus patrol. So we've got a focus patrol right now running in Gads Hill after some complaints, and using our speed spy technology confirmed that speed is an issue there. So we've got a focus patrol that's running Gads Hill. We've increased our requirements for our members to do foot patrol and school patrols, really to bring up the visibility in the communities that we're policing and that we're responsible for. And that are the things that I wanted to bring to your attention. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Okay, great. So is there any questions from council? Daryl?
No, great. Thank you. I always enjoy these reports or similar ones from the OPP. There's so much good data for us as council to all digest. That's frustrating for myself watching this around the COVID, how we keep such a narrow scope as we focus in on COVID fallout and the COVID virus, and we don't look at everything. And these here reports tell us more. And I thank you for bringing them forward, and the community can see it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Herrick.
Okay, anyone else with questions? Oh, seeing no questions. Well, we thank you very much for coming and giving us a report. It's great seeing you again, and we wish you all the best. And you're welcome to stay the rest of the meeting. If you need to leave, we do understand. But thanks again for your report. And yeah, it's very informative.
No, thank you.
Okay, so we will move now to public meetings. We do have one public meeting. So I declare this virtual public meeting to be open. This virtual public meeting is being held to consider a proposed zoning bylaw amendment affecting property currently owned by Ivan and Lavina Weber. Legal address of Concession 9, Southeast Hope Part Lot 14, RP 44R 2025 Part 1, Mornington Ward 4164, line 76. This virtual meeting is an opportunity for the township to advise the public of the purpose and intent of the amendment and receive their input prior to considering adoption of the implementing bylaw. If a bylaw is adopted to implement the zoning amendment, a notice of passing will be forwarded by prepaid first-class mail to various agencies of interest and others who have requested notice. An appeal to the local planning appeal tribunal objecting to the adoption of the bylaw may be filed with the clerk not later than the date stated on the notice. Any person attending the meeting who wishes to receive written notice of a bylaw passed to implement the amendment is asked to give their name and mailing address to the clerk following this meeting. No written notice, except as previously noted, will be given unless requested by email following the meeting. Due to COVID-19, public meeting procedures have been adjusted to adhere to the provincial guidelines for holding electronic meetings. Any person who wished to be heard regarding this matter was asked to register prior to this meeting by the deadline of Monday, January 31st, 2022 at 12 noon with the municipal clerk. I will now call on Perth County Planner Adam to present the planning report and recommendations. Adam, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council, good evening. And I'm going to walk council through some photos and sketches as part of the public meeting. And I'll share screen. Okay, I trust everybody can see the air photo. Yeah,
Again.
okay, thank you. So the zoning bylaw amendment number is Z12 2021. And the property is located at 4164 line 76, which is about 2.5 kilometers northwest of Millbank. Property has an area of 60 acres with 1,380 feet of frontage on line 76. The main building cluster is at the north end of the property. The house is here, and there's a barn here, and the Webwood Windows shop slash business is out of this building here. And then there's a storage building up near the road at this point here. The property is in a predominantly rural and agricultural area of the township. The neighbors all have large lots. They're all 60, 70, 80 and larger acre lots, typically with farmhouses and building clusters around them. So the application in front of council this evening is for a zoning amendment. And this property currently has what's called the A65 zone. So it's agriculture exception 65. And the A65 zone currently allows permissions and recognizes the Webwood Windows building and business use on the property. And what the applicants would like to do is a warehouse addition to that building. And I'm going to get to those sketches in a second, but I just want to show council the proposed wording change. So what will happen is the wording will be amended to allow the total floor area of the building. So that's the existing Webwood and the warehouse to be 1,000 square meters, which is 10,760 square feet. And then the gross floor area of the expanded building total would be 13,900 square feet. The last part of this site-specific zone change is to then add a section 4, and that will put the building expansion under site plan control. So the Weavers will then prepare more detailed engineering drawings for the township and the Conservation Authority to review. I'll just go to some sketches. So the applicant has prepared some sketches for council's consideration. This is a site sketch, just showing the existing buildings on the property. And then we zoom in a little bit here, just showing the warehouse addition in relation to some of the natural features on the property. That's a branch of the Nith River. And this just shows where that addition would be. And then if we zoom in a little bit more, here's the warehouse addition with some more detailed dimensions in relation to the existing shop structure. And some elevations. So this is as if we're looking at it, looking east from where the house is. So this is the main entrance to the business here. And the addition would be this wing over here. This is looking at it south. So this is the side of the building. This would be the laneway over here. The house is over here. And then the Nith River is down here at the bottom of the valley. And this elevation would be as if we were standing on the opposite side of the river looking west. So the existing shop is here and the addition would be here. And this is just the south elevation. The applicants had prepared this site plan, and I took the dimensions from the building drawings and I just kind of cleaned it up a little bit to show council. So this is the warehouse addition plotted based on the dimensions of the site plan. And what I wanted to show council here is that this is the boundary of the regulated area by the Grand River Conservation Authority. So during pre-consultation, the applicant had originally had a slightly larger building that actually went into this regulated area a little bit. And when I talked to the Conservation Authority planners, they said that if it's in that tan colored area, we'd be looking at what's called an engineered slope stability study. So we went back and had a discussion, and the Weavers have amended the building shape, and that's why it's basically adjacent to the edge of this regulated area. So there was some correspondence in the site package and the report package, and the Conservation Authority now does not require that engineered study as long as it's kept out of the tan area. And just some site photos. These were taken by the chief building official. Thank you very much, Wes. I was out earlier in the fall before the snow. So the warehouse addition would basically be where these truck bodies are. I think the Weavers currently have some storage in here, and they'd like to get everything inside of a nice new building. And this is looking south. There's some stakes here in the photo that show the edge of the regulated area. So there's a stake here and then further here. So that building will be outside of this, that setback to the creek. Similar view here. And this is basically looking east. The neighboring property and farm cluster is over here. So this is basically where that warehouse would go, right here on this existing cleared parking area. Two pieces of correspondence were received. The first one was from the Conservation Authority. They have no objection to the zone change, and they will review the site sketches that will be submitted through site plan control should council approve this evening. The other correspondence was from Mr. Dean Bowman, and Dean Bowman is the neighbor actually in this farm here, and Dean has no objection to the application. He fully supports the zone change. So I would be happy to answer any questions that council may have as part of the public meeting. And I will also be happy to answer any further questions later in the evening when council considers the bylaw. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Adam. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in opposition to the application. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent. Applicants Ivan Weber and Aaron Weber registered to speak with respect to the application. Mr. Weber, can you hear us? Good evening, Mr. Weber. Do you have any comments you wish to make about your application?
Yes, good evening. This is Aaron speaking. I don't have much further comments. I think Adam did a very good job. At this point, I was glad to hear that the Conservation Authority doesn't have any objections, but yes, they'll want to see some more paperwork then. Yes, glad to hear that Dean is in support of this. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask them, but.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Are there any questions from members of council? Amanda?
Just one question, just out of curiosity. So the regulatory area with the slope, has that always been in place? Like, is that a new designation? I've just never heard of that particular designation before.
Yes, through your worship to Councillor Broadhagen. So the regulated areas on our GIS system they're a little bit different from zoning, and they're a little bit different from official plan mapping. They are regulated areas that the conservation has had in place since approximately 2006. And what they are is they can be thought of as an additional layer of flagging when we're talking about river valleys, water courses, and wetlands. So if any development is placed or adjacent to a regulated area, it triggers additional review by the Conservation Authority. So a regulated area does not always mean no, it just means additional research or studies required. And in this case, that's what we tried to do here, is keep the building out of that tan area that you saw on the map so that they don't have to do additional engineering studies. But conservation will still need to review any building permit or site sketches should it be approved.
Anyone else with questions? Daryl?
No, very interesting. That's really good to quick clean that up there on the engineered slope study. But no, I like what they did here, and yeah, let's get this cooking. It's a good shop, and yeah, that's good work. Good work planning and everybody.
Anyone else with questions? Seeing no questions, council will consider a resolution regarding the planning report recommendation following the conclusion of the virtual public meeting. Bylaw number 212/2021 to implement the approval of the zoning application will be considered later within the council agenda. The virtual public meeting is now concluded and will continue with the regular meeting of council. So I do have a motion, and it says the Council of the Township of Perth East received a report prepared by the planner entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment D14-Z12-2021-PE submitted by Ivan and Lavina Weber affecting lands described as 4164 line 76 concession 9 Southeast Hope part of 14 44R 2025 part 1 Mornington Ward for information. And that council held a statutory public meeting pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act with respect to zoning bylaw amendment Z12-2021-PE, and that council approved zoning bylaw amendment Z12-2021-PE as follows. Number one, that the text of section 6.9.65 of bylaw number 30-1999 is deleted and replaced with the following. The maximum ground floor area of the buildings used in conjunction with the window manufacturing and sales business and the retail wholesale processing and warehouse of window/door glass and related products shall be 1,000 square meters. And number 2, that the text of section 6.9.65 of bylaw number 30-1999 is deleted and replaced with the following. The maximum gross floor area of the buildings used in connection with the window manufacturing and sales business and the retail wholesale processing and warehousing of window/door glass and related products shall be 1,290 square meters. And number 3, the new subsection of section 6.9.65 of bylaw number 30-1999 be added as follows. Expansion of the existing window manufacturing building shall be subject to site plan control pursuant to section 41 of the Planning Act. Do I have a mover and a seconder for all that? Moved by Jeremy. Second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Okay, now we're moving to public hearings, and we do have 2 public hearings. First public hearing is council will temporarily now adjourn to sit as a committee of adjustment pursuant to section 45 of the Planning Act. I now declare this virtual public hearing open. This virtual public hearing is being held to consider an application affecting property currently owned by Jeremy Root and Holly Ruffridge and described as Concession 1, Part Lot 15, Ellis Ward, 108 Huron Road, Stephenville. The purpose of this hearing is to give the committee and the public an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to the proposed application and receive their input, and for the committee to make a decision on the application. All persons attending this hearing will be given an opportunity to be heard or make a presentation. Committee members may ask questions for the purposes of clarifying the application, but are asked comments on this application until all present have been given an opportunity to be heard. Due to COVID-19, public hearing procedures have been adjusted to adhere to provincial guidelines for holding electronic meetings. Any person who wished to be heard regarding this matter were asked to register prior to this meeting by the deadline of Monday, January 31st, 2022 at 12 noon with the municipal clerk. Any person who wishes to receive written notice of the decision made by the Committee of Adjustment is asked to email their name, mailing address to the Secretary Treasurer following this hearing. An appeal to the local planning appeal tribunal objecting to the decision made at this hearing may be filed with Secretary Treasurer not later than February 21, 2022. No written notice, except as previously noted, will be given unless requested at this time. I will now call on Planner Melissa to present the planning report and recommendations. Melissa, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. Your worship, members of council. Let me just share my screen here. Can you see my presentation? Okay.
Can.
Yes. So this is an application, minor variance application. A18-2021, located at the address of the property is 108 Huron Road. The applicant proposes to construct a single detached dwelling on an already reduced existing lot. The existing lot is vacant except for an existing detached garage. The zoning bylaw permits as a right 1 single detached dwelling, semis, 1 duplex dwelling, converted dwellings, and accessory structures. The subject property, the existing garage will be demolished to make room for new detached dwelling with an attached garage. The Planning Act requires that minor variance, in order to be approved, meets 4 minor variance tests. And those are maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan, maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, being minor in nature, and being desirable for the appropriate use of land or building before variances, before it can be approved, recommended for approval. So this is the context of the property. The zoning bylaw It's Hamlet Village Residential, requires 2,250 meter square lot area for a single detached dwelling. The existing reduced lot, which is 2,030 square meters, is compatible in terms of size to the surrounding lots on the north side of Huron Road, and as well as to the lots on the opposite southerly side of Huron Road. On the north side of Huron Road, all lots except one, which is the one directly to the right on the image, are smaller than the subject lot and range from 1,750 to 2,012 square meters. The immediate lot, the one to the right, is slightly larger, and it's because it has like dual zoning. On the south side and directly opposite the subject property, all lots are also zoned Hamlet Village Residential, and they're kind of in line with the size of the existing lot. The proposed variance thus meets the suits the character of the neighborhood and the prevalent development pattern. The minor variance is suitable and minor in the context of the overall neighborhood. The proposal thus satisfies 4 variances, and planning recommends approval. I just want to highlight the fact that just today we received an email from one of the neighbors in support of this application, and that is from Miss Julie Dingman. I don't think it was included in your package. And this concludes my presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thanks, Melissa. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in opposition. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent. The applicant or the applicant's agent did not register to make a presentation or speak with respect to the application. Are there any questions from the committee members? Seeing no questions, the committee will now consider a motion regarding the application. So we do have a motion that the Township of Perth East Committee of Adjustment receive a report dated February 1st, 2022, prepared by the planner entitled Minor Variance D13-A18-2021-PE, affecting lands described as part of Lot 15, Concession 1, Ellis Ward, Township of Perth East, 108 Huron Road, Severnville, for information, and that the Committee of Adjustment approve minor variance D13-A-18-2021-PE submitted by Jeremy Root and Holly Ruffridge, affecting lands as described above, with the following condition. Number 1, that the existing detached garage be demolished. We have a mover and a seconder. Moved by Jerry, second by Daryl. All in favor? Okay, we're going to move on to our second public hearing. So this virtual public hearing is being held to consider an application affecting property currently owned by William Hunter and Della Springer and described as Plan 363, Part Lot 53, RP 44R 4953, Part 1, Milverton Ward. I'm going to skip the preamble because it's exactly the same as it was for the previous application. And I'm going to jump right down to now we're going to call on Planner Melissa to present the planning report and recommendations. So the floor is yours, Melissa.
Thank you. Okay, I hope you can see the screen. So this minor variance application is for part lot actually, 53, Plan 363 on Maple Street. Unfortunately, there's no municipal number at the moment, but it'll be hopefully be assigned. So the subject lot is vacant, like I said, in a plan of subdivision and located between 9 Maple Street and 11 Maple Street. The applicant proposes to construct a 2-story semi-detached dwelling on an existing slightly undersized lot with a reduced side yard setback. The zoning bylaw permits as of right 1 single detached dwelling, a semi, 1 duplex dwelling, 1 triplex, converted dwellings with maximum 3 units and accessory structures. Each of these permitted uses has its own lot area requirement and other zoning provisions associated with each use. The variances that are being requested, as shown here on the screen, the proponent is requesting a slight reduction in the lot area to 641.9 meters versus 650 that is required, and 1.2 side yard setback versus 2.4 meters that is required. So in all other aspects, as you can see on this table, in all other aspects, the proposal complies with the applicable zoning provisions. So for example, front and rear yard setbacks are minimum 7.5 meters, and the proponent is providing 10.4 meters at the front and 17 meters at the back. And the coverage is within the limit of, the proposed coverage is within the limit of 30%. The subject lot, it was originally a single lot in the plan of subdivision, was severed into two in 2010. The Planning Act requires that minor variance meets 4 minor variance tests, maintaining the general intent and purpose of the official plan, zoning bylaw, that it is minor in nature and that is desirable for the appropriate use of land or building before it can be recommended for approval. In terms of the official plan, the minor variance represents an appropriate variance given that the variance suits the general intent and purpose of Milverton official plan. The lot is designated central commercial with a site-specific exemption permitting residential, and the applicant intends to maintain the same use. So this image shows the proposed plans and elevations. Like I said, the zoning bylaw requires 650 square meters for semi-detached dwelling. The existing reduced lot is 641.9 meters, is compatible in terms of size with the surrounding lots on Maple Street. This has already been considered at the time of severance in 2010. The existing size is suitable for a single detached dwelling. However, it is slightly undersized for a semi. The variance is truly minor, in my opinion, as it represents a 1.2% reduction for a semi-detached dwelling. The proposed reduction of the side yard setback, 1.2 meters versus 2.4 that is required, suits the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. The proposed setback follows the general neighborhood pattern and precedence, as there are several properties on Maple Street with a similar or smaller setback on both the dwellings, for both the dwellings and accessory structures. The proponent is allowed to build an accessory structure as of right with a 1.2 meter setback. So same as what they're requesting. There are no side yard windows. As you can see on this proposal, there are no side yard windows and thus minimal opportunity for privacy invasion of the abutting properties, except for one window. And if you can take a look here where my mouse is, I don't know if you can see it, where it's this upper living area. That's where that side opening is. So that is on the second floor. In all other aspects, the proposal conforms to the provisions for the R2 zone, coverage, front and rear yard setback, landscaping, floor area, and building height. In conclusion, this minor variance, both minor variances are desirable for the land use, and they represent an opportunity to provide more housing while at the same time being suitable to the neighborhood context. The minor variance application is consistent with the provincial policy statement. The proposal and the variances conform to the official plan and suit the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. The variances are minor in nature and desirable for the use of the land. As a result, approval of the variances is recommended. And I just have to point out the fact that we received 2 email submissions. I think they're part of your package pertaining to these minor variances. One is from, so the first email submission is from Robert and Marion Roth. They're located directly to the north of this property, and they support this application and are looking forward to work with the proponent. The second application is from Mark and Lori Fisher. who are objecting to the variances, and fissures are located 2 lots to the south of the subject lot. Thank you. That's it for my presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thanks, Melissa. We have Kirk and Mary Lindsay have registered to speak in opposition. Evening, Mr. Lindsay, the floor is
Can you
yours.
guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. I'm just going to read out what we put here. My wife and I are opposed to this issue because the lot next door is big enough for one house without any minor variance. And once you start building more than one house, then certain problems will arise. Everyone else doesn't get a minor variance when they build a structure on their property. We have to be exactly 2.4 meters from the property line. An example I would think of is Mark and Lori when they just built their shed structure on their property. They had to be exactly 2.4 meters from the property line. We are worried about this duplex, semi-detached, so close to our property that it would interfere with work that would be done on our property, namely the overhang of the roof. I believe it's the second roof or the first roof for the entrance. We're also concerned about the construction of this semi-detached. It would interfere on our property, and also examples are construction vehicles, people working in that area, construction equipment. We believe a good compromise would be to build one structure on the land and leaving plenty of room, and you wouldn't need any minor variance.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Lindsay. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent. Nathan Hallman, the agent, and Jim Flynn, the applicant, have both registered to answer questions with respect to this application. Mr. Flynn and Mr. Hallman, are you with us?
Yes, I am. This is Nathan Hallman.
Okay.
And I am here, Mayor Agates, Jim Flynn.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lindsay had a couple questions. You have the answers to his questions?
So I think I can, perhaps speak to the concern about roof overhang and what you have before you. And of course, I'll defer to Nathan should something technical come up. But the plan before you is one that we'd like to build, but at the moment, it is still a concept plan. And so it may appear that eaves are perhaps overhanging a property line, but I assure you that that is a concept plan drawing and that the eaves would not be impinging on the neighboring property.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from committee members? Andrew?
Thank you for the report, Planner Gassick. No, I know from the Village of Shakespeare, there's a rider on a lot of development like this where there's to do with surface water. Is that handled in this part of basically no effect on adjacent properties or no effect is kind of what was being used? Is that a building department thing, or is that something that should be in a planning resolution going forward? Maybe you're not aware, sorry. I didn't mean to.
That's through you, Madam Mayor. So this lot, when it was severed back in 2010, there was a condition put in place on that severance that lot grading and drainage plan be submitted prior to this consent being finalized. So that was actually done. I apologize for not including it, that condition with this application, but that got resolved with a severance in 2010. So the plan was submitted and there was some pipe, I believe, going through the property, which got severed, which was the northerly portion of this lot 53. So essentially got split into two, and that there was a pipe that was relocated. So that all got handled at that point.
Okay, Andrew?
Thank you. I appreciate the comment. It was actually, and I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but it was actually it was right in the township paperwork of like kind of standing item that not to affect drainage on adjacent properties. That's, and I apologize, you probably haven't seen this, but it's something we might want to consider just with reduced setback and obviously, you know, it's the buildings and roofs don't take up rainwater, right? So we have to.
Certainly, we can, if you, through Madam Mayor, if you wish to impose that condition, I think that's a reasonable condition. We can certainly add it to the conditions which are already recommended for approval, and request that this grading and drainage plan be submitted to the satisfaction of the chief building official. So we can certainly do that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, terrible. It's like Milverton, I call it.
Okay, any more questions, Daryl?
Yeah, the provincial policy statement on infilling like this, when you're putting in new homes, I know there's some budge room and wiggle room. I do believe, though, I've read in there that buildings being implemented are supposed to fit in with existing structure or existing infrastructure or existing buildings in the community, whether it is, you know, especially in this type of area, it is single detached. Now we're bringing in a semi right in the middle. I guess its height is the big thing if it powers out existing homes exactly. Is there any specifics there? We're not stepping out of line here. We're putting in something that's a little more than what, you know, people move into the community.
So through you, Madam Mayor. So the provincial policy, so this building, firstly, this building is not going to exceed the height limit. So they're not requesting that a variance. It'll stay within the 10 meters. And if they choose to go over that limit, they will certainly have to come back to this committee. But at the moment, they're not proposing to go over the limit. And there are numerous two-story buildings on Maple Street.
Talking about the way it looks.
In terms of provincial policy calls for intensification and efficient use of existing infrastructure, which is, you know, your typical infills. And it also calls for a variety of housing options. So in other words, not just like single detached dwellings, but other types of dwellings in order to accommodate various family sizes, various family situations, various abilities and ages. So I think the goal here is being satisfied in terms of provincial policy, because it provides a different type of housing. It is an infill situation. They're attempting to put in a semi, but this is certainly not townhomes, and this is not much more intense in terms of, you know, the general character of the immediate neighborhood. But it is an infill, and it provides a different type of housing in Milverton, something maybe that is not that common. But certainly the policy calls for provision of different types of, you know, housing options and different sizes of homes.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing no questions, the committee will now consider a motion regarding the application. So the motion that we have is the Council of the Township of Perth East Committee of Adjustment, Township of Perth East Committee of Adjustment received the report dated February 1st, 2022, prepared by the planner entitled Minor Variance D13-A01-2022-PE affecting lands described as Plan 363, Part Lot 53, RP 44R 4953, Part 1, Milverton Ward for information. And that the Committee of Adjustment approved minor variance D13-A01-2022-PE submitted by William Robert Hunter and Della Marie Springer affecting lands as described above with the following conditions. Number one, the owners obtain the necessary building permit within 2 years of the approval of the minor variance. Number two, the owners obtain municipal numbers for the semi-detached dwelling. And as suggested, number three, the grading and the draining plans be subject to the CBO approval. Okay. Do we have a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Amanda. Second by Jerry. All in favor? Carried. Okay, I declare this virtual public hearing closed. Okay, now we'll move on. We have no reports from planning, nothing from the CAO, nothing from the clerk. Finance, we have the 2022 water and wastewater rates. Rhonda, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. This is a joint report with Public Works, and Wes, feel free to chime in where you wish. The water and sewer rates, they are reviewed annually, and that's done after the initial review of the water and wastewater operations budgets by the Budget Advisory Committee, and that was done in January. The operating rates are calculated to cover operating costs, and we use the 3-year volume averages from 2019 to 2021. The capital rates are calculated to fund life cycle replacement. And for your information, on page 169, you may wish to refer to, that will show you the actual draft rates, the table on the top. So that's your proposed operating and capital rates. And you've got the water operating rates. They're going down actually a couple of cents, 3 cents. And then you have water capital rates. They're up 1.66%. And the sewer operating rates are 1.65. And the flat is 2.14. And the capital is 1.08. Then if you look on page 170, that will show you a typical water and sewer bill for the month and the change between them. So you've got a water operating change of going down 63 cents to the capital up 93. The total water bill is 29 cents and the total sewer bill is $1.30. So that's just a quick reference for you. If there's any questions, Wes or I can hopefully answer them for you.
Okay, thanks, Rhonda. Any questions from council? Nope, seeing no questions, we have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive a report entitled 2022 Water and Wastewater Rates prepared by the Treasurer and Public Works Manager dated February 1, 2022 for information, that Council approve the 2022 water and wastewater rates as presented, and that 3 readings be given to Bylaw 02-2022, being a bylaw to amend Bylaw 60-2021 fees and charges bylaw. We have a mover and a seconder, moved by Jeremy, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Anything else, Rhonda?
No, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Now we'll move to Public Works, and the first one is the supply of the triaxle cab and chassis. Wes, the floor is yours.
So council has seen this report before. It was taken to the budget committee and it was a recommendation from them. So I'm just looking for support from council.
Okay, any questions for Wes on this? Nope, seeing no questions. Council of the Township of Perth East received a report entitled Supply of Triaxle Cab and Chassis and U-Body, front plow harness and wing assembly, dated February 1, 2022, prepared by the Manager of Public Works and Parks for information. That the council approve the recommendation of the Perth East Budget Advisory Committee, January 18, 2022, to authorize the Manager of Public Works to procure the cab and chassis from Highway Western Star and the U-Body front plow harness and wing assembly from Viking Sives Limited for a total cost of $371,466 plus HST. Moved by Andrew. Second by Amanda. Any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, and the second is the pre-budget approval for asphalt. Wes?
This is a contract extension through the county, looking for pre-budget approval so that we can move forward with this as well.
Any questions for Wes on this? See no questions. We have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Pre-Budget Approval 2022 Asphalt Paving dated February 1, 2022, prepared by the Manager of Public Works and Parks for information, and that Council proceed with a cooperative procurement approach for capital project paving operations in 2022 and support the one-year extension of the contract administered by the Perth County, and that the council grant pre-budget approval for the 2022 capital projects on line 36, line 40, line 64, line 76, line 83, Road 111, Road 24, CPR Drive in Milverton, and the Northeast Hope Public Workshop. And at council allocate $1,733,000 in capital to fund the execution of these projects within the 2022 corporate capital budgets. We need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Jeremy, second by Hugh. Any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Anything else, Wes?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have nothing from building, nothing from recreation, nothing from fire, no correspondence. Then we move down to mayor's or council and committee reports. And you have my meeting log. Is there any questions on any of the places or the things I did for month of January?
Your worship, I just have one thing to mention, the report for the permit fee schedule for the building permit fees.
Okay, so that's in my bylaws. Okay, go ahead, Wes.
Yes, so your worship, members of council, building fee calculations have been made using 3-year historical building activity data. And based on the 3-year average of building activity from 2019 to 2021, the existing fees approved under Bylaw 60/2021 will fully fund the 2021 building department budget, and there's no fee changes recommended at this time.
Okay, thanks, Wes. Does anyone have any questions for Wes? Carol?
No, that's interesting. Good, thanks for the update. So we're okay. You feel we're in good shape, not creeping up the fees there? From what I understand, yeah, it's your methodology makes sense. So many things are just getting out of control quickly here. We don't want to get caught.
Yeah, so looking through your worship to Councillor Herlick, just looking at the numbers comparatively to neighboring municipalities, it looks like we're in really good shape and very, very comparative in terms of our fees right now. So it's based on the review of the last 3 years, we don't see any need to raise the fee amounts. That's our understanding.
You know, that's good. I know we at county as well, we always talk cost recovery and where necessary, making sure the right people are getting it. But no, thank you. That's good update.
Okay, anyone else have any questions for Wes on the fees? No, okay, thanks, Wes. So, okay, so we'll go back to council reports. I did attend Roma. Hugh and Teresa and Eric and I actually did attend Roma. I don't know if Hugh wants to give a real report on what he did. I went to the breakout sessions on the Conservation Act, the connectivity and broadband, the fines and enforcement, the housing solutions, and then halfway through that, I jumped over to climate change and municipalities. So I was also part of a delegation to the Minister of Finance associate, and Corey Bridges from the county talked in it, and it was about the assessment and how the government has been putting off the assessment for the urban facilities and how it should not be put off any longer. It is affecting our rural communities, the rural people are picking up a lot of the tab. So he had some great points, and they said that they would take them back and consider them. Throughout the conference, the biggest thing that I took away, we talked about affordable housing numerous times. We all realize that it's there. If there's things that we can do in our planning or different ways to mitigate some of the problems with affordable housing. And we did it actually tonight by allowing a house to go on a smaller lot. So, and the other thing was climate change. There was an awful lot of discussion on climate change and what the municipalities should be doing and how they can help and how they can mitigate that problem as well. So Hugh, I don't know if you'd like to talk on anything. Sorry, put you on the spot. I don't know if there's anything that you'd like.
No, you've covered everything fairly well. There was a broad spectrum for, like you said, climate change and the housing and things like that. It was always interesting.
Okay, Rhonda Fisher, did you have something you wanted to add?
I was just going to speak on the building bylaw. That will be going to the next council meeting with the report and the actual bylaw and fee review. There has to be a number of days before you can pass that bylaw before after the circulation. So that has to be put on hold for now till the next meeting.
So that's 11.1.1, is that correct?
No, that would be for the 11.1 is for water and sewer. The building does not go to the next meeting.
So which one are you talking that we need to put off?
Well, just for one, what Wes the CBO was speaking on is for the next meeting.
Yeah, okay. All right. Daryl, sorry, did you have a question?
No, sure there. Yeah, no, it's interesting. You said you studied on some of the climate change and just recommendations they're doing there. Again, I'm seeing these NGO grants pop up, and I have my concerns. Huron County is applying for one, and it looks like it's the arm of an insurance company or something they're applying to, and this is all new water. So it's interesting times around when we talk around climate change, and it's just really concerning how this is all going to play out when we look into it. I know Collingwood, for example, is implementing idling bylaws. Well, the province already has bylaws, but it looks like they're going to try and enforce them through local council, and really concerning. But no, that's interesting. I don't know if they talked about the grant process there, if that's changing from provincial, traditional style municipalities, was there anything on that, Rhonda?
I don't remember them talking about the grants. They more or less were focusing on the different things that the municipalities can do. They talked about that and our role in it.
Hey, yeah, no, that's it. I mean, as a rural municipality, us farmers, we're the salt of the earth, if you would. Scripture tells us, and we're always doing what we can to provide in the best. So I sometimes find that frustrating when we have these meetings. But thank you.
Okay, anyone else with questions? If not, we need a motion to, I'm sorry. Is there any other reports that anyone wants to give on any of the committees that they sit on? No? Okay, so then we need a motion to accept my meeting log and the report on Roma. So if we could have a mover and a second for that. Moved by Andrew, second by Jerry. All in favor? Carried. Okay, now we're going to bylaws. We do have 6 bylaws that are going to be read a first, second, third, and final time. So the first one is 02-22, a bylaw to amend 60-2021, a fee and charges bylaw. The second one is bylaw 03-2022, a bylaw to authorize the signing of a letter of agreement between Her Majesty the Queen and the Province of Ontario and the Ministry of Transportation related to the gas tax funds. The third one is 04-2022, a bylaw to authorize the signing of an agreement with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities for a municipal assessment asset management program grant. Number 4 is bylaw 05-2022, a bylaw to authorize the signing an agreement with the Municipal Affairs and Housing Information Technology Security Assessment Project. The fifth one is Bylaw 06, 2022, to authorize signing of an agreement with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing Staff Learning Management System Implementation Project. And the sixth one is a Bylaw 2020-12. And it's to amend Bylaw 30, 1999, Concession 9, Southeast Hope, part of Lot 14, Mornington Ward, 4164, line 76. And that was item 7.1.1 tonight. So we need someone to move that we adopt these, adopt them the first, second, third, and final readings. Moved by Jeremy. Second by Jerry. All in favor? Andrew, do you have a question? Okay, Andrew, sorry.
I apologize. I may have misunderstood. I thought we were going to hold 11.1.1, the first one, but that's maybe I'm wrong.
No, Rhonda, help me out. What did I spoken? What was 11.1.1? That was for.
I thought the treasurer thought we should hold that one, but maybe I'm thinking of a different one. I just want to clarify before we vote on it.
There's nothing here to hold other than the comments that the CO made for the building fees, because the building fee bylaw and the amendment to the fee schedule will go the next meeting. The water and sewer rates are going this meeting. So that was the confusion there. They're split up. Water and sewer this meeting, building fees the next meeting.
So 1.1 is water and sewer rates. It's not the building. The building is correct. The building.
Oh, okay.
That was my confusion. So sorry.
Thank you.
It needs to be included. Okay, so we have six bylaws. All in favor? Carried. Okay. So we do have a need for a closed session. So with your permission, we'll move that down to under announcements. We'll go to, is there any notice of motions? Any new business? Any announcements? Nope. Okay. So we do have a need for a closed session. So I think Becky and Wes are staying with us. Wes,
Mayor Eggets, there is new business for the delegation from OPP.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Thank you, Colleen. Thank you. Okay. I need you have a resolution here. Oh, here we go. Council of the Township of Perth East receives a presentation from Acting Inspector Wendy Burrow and Interim Detachment Commander, Perth County, Ontario Provincial Police, OPP 2020 Progress Report for information. Moved by Andrew, second by Jeremy. All in favor? Carried. And before we say goodbye to everybody, I believe I need to make the motion why we're going into closed session. And here it is. The regular meeting of Council of the Township of Perth East be temporarily adjourned at 8:23 p.m. to permit the holding of a meeting in closed session for the purpose of exemption pursuant to Section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. So I need a mover and a second to go into close. Moved by Jerry. Second by Daryl. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, everyone. Great to see everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you all again. And everyone else, please log into your closed session. Thank you. Okay, we're back in open again. So we have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East direct staff to proceed with arranging the donations / acquisition of approximately 6-acre property adjacent to the Greenwood Park. Moved by Amanda. Second by Jerry. All in favor? Carried. Okay, and we have that bylaw number 07-2022 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of the Township of Perth East at its regular meeting held on February 1, 2022. You read a first, second, third time. Moved by Q. Second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. And that the meeting of the council be adjourned at 8:49. Moved by Andrew, second by Daryl. All in favor? Carried.